Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of The Golden Path, and it is crunch time. We only have 2 more races left until the big one next week, the Pago Pago and the Magic Night. As I say, a very good evening to my co-hosts, Ron Duffy and Brad Gray.
Yeah, I have to apologise. We said we'd be much more the wiser after last week. We're in more of a problem.
No man's land, are we?
It's going to go right up to this barrier draw, I can tell you that, and then we'll be still trying to delete the list of 10 tips there. I'd suggest this is looking wide open, Brad.
Well, we've still got the same favourite, don't we?
Yeah.
Woden, so he does enough to stay there, and then it's up to the others to try and knock him off as far as the horse to beat. And at the moment, have they done enough? That's a question we'll be asking ourselves throughout the next half an hour, but you're just hoping that there's a few horses that really stand up on Saturday and add a bit more interest to this big Golden Slipper.
And no doubt an attrition rate from Saturday as well, which we will see.
Yeah, something we're trying to work through at the moment, which horses are still around and which aren't.
We've been preempting it by doing our cross-outs and figuring out where everyone sits. But let's take a look at the market for the Golden Slipper as it stands. So our favourite still is Woden. He was $3.50 prior to his run on the weekend at $4.50 now, tempted with a very impressive win there on the weekend at 6s. We did have Tentris as well, who's come out, of course. 9s for Within the Law and Devil Knight. Bella Zane is at 11s, a stack of at 11s. King of Pop was our winner of the Black Opal over the Page, North England. I actually thought it was a forgive run from North England on the weekend, and he had improvement to come. Tycoon Star, Skyhooks at 21s, and then $26 or more. And, of course, we see a few of those runners further down in the betting, Stradivarina, Quietly Arrogant, Bivax, United States, all in this weekend. So it's just a matter of what happens after this weekend, and I feel like we say that every week at this stage.
And when we still might be saying it. Like I say, there's pros and cons for most horses in the market. Well, most horses even out of the market. So that's going to change again on Saturday. And then you'll have the horses run well Saturday and they'll be humming and hawing, or is the Percy Sykes a better race? Is the size, is it too quick a backup? So we might get a little drop-off rate where some of these horses we weren't expecting to get a run that might even scrape into the field. But, at this stage you probably couldn't back them if they're down in the 50s or so. But
and a few that might wait and go to a Sires, and there'll be a lot to come out of this weekend.
Hypothetically, say on Saturday we have 2 races where the margins aren't huge, we could be looking at $6, $7 the field.
No doubt. No doubt. And maybe looking at, the longest price runner in the race, 25 to 1.
Yeah, that's right.
We've talked about it not being the strongest year of 2-year-olds, and it arguably probably isn't, but is it also that we just can't work out where they all sit at this stage? It just keeps changing complexion.
Well, it keeps changing complexion. We were all saying, that's one of the weakest Blue Diamonds we've ever seen.
And then the Blue Diamond form keeps going up.
Probably because it was a slowly run Blue Diamond and they sprinted home. There wasn't a high-pressure race and they were left with a peak performance in them.
Yeah,
so there's different ways you can look at this race. And anyway, we've got a real contest on our hands at this stage, there's no doubt.
Well, let's take a look at this slipper order of entry and where it sits at the moment. So we know that Tentris is out. So in yellow we have out. We probably should have made them red, shouldn't we? Rivellino, of course, exempt. Tempted, exempt. Bivax, exempt. Within the Law, exempt, who I saw there on Tuesday morning, and we hear from her trainer, Bjorn Baker, a little bit later about her chances. Devil Knight, North England, Return to Conquer out. The Playwright out. Tycoon Star was a good run there.
Yeah, it was a good run.
Icarian Dream out. My Gladiola out. West of Swindon, who trialled on Monday, that we'll talk about. Blitzberg out. Bella Zane, we'll hear from a little bit later. I know you're quite keen on her a little bit later on, Duff. And then over the page, Belmercy out. La Bella Boom. And I think there were a few others that we thought we could probably cross out from that list too. But it keeps going. So we go down to Open Secret. And crazy enough to think, we were chatting about Mahuna a couple of days ago, just a few of us trying to work out where she might sit. At the moment, she's almost there.
On the edge.
Isn't she? She's right on the cusp when you cross all of them out. Very interesting.
She'd run a race if she made the field too.
Well, the form looks all right, doesn't it, after what's happened out of that race since,
And now let's take a look at a market for the Pago Pago. West of Swindon heads them at 3.10. Skyhook at 4s, who's been backed. United States 7.50. Kilman 10s, 11s about Comedy, Extractor, and State Visit, and then Valedictorian $18 or more. All right, well, we talked about West of Swindon, so let's look at his trial on Monday now.
Well, I thought he trialled well enough.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
I just don't know whether I don't know whether he's been held back the extra week. He's had a setback, but it's I'm not worried. They usually trial the week before of the race horses. They get away with it so often.
Yeah.
And he's trialled well.
He did. So this just bridges that 3 weeks between runs, and the market just wanted nothing to do with him first up. He was so soft, wasn't he? So obviously now we know that he'd already qualified. So with the benefit of hindsight, that's an easy conclusion to draw in that he was the horse that had booked his ticket, and the Hawks team could just patiently wade their way through the waters of the Golden Slipper. So
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, well, they know he's qualified. So do you think that he's probably half a run short this week? Yes, probably is, with a peak performance yet to come. But it still might be good enough. He's a good colt.
Well, let's look at Skyhook now in the Group 2 Skyline Stakes. Here we look at Comedy, Skyhook and Valedictorian.
Yeah, well...
Doesn't get any easier the more times you watch it, does it?
No. I think Skyhook obviously should have won. He was good at his first start. He went into, with one trial, his first start. He does this, and I thought the market's liked him all the way through. So, yeah, I think he's right there as far as this race is concerned. I think he deserves a spot after that, put it that way. And I think he only has to run 1-2 pretty well to get in. Yeah,
second place prize money should be enough. And he got shoved back towards the inside as well. Hard defence, you didn't really want to be. So there were a number of excuses, and despite that, there he is still fighting out the finish. So he's certainly trending the right way.
I was on Comedy that day too, as you well know, Brad, so I was tearing my hair out.
Okay, you were on Comedy, Duff was on Skyhook, and I was on Quietly Arrogant. So there's a few sob stories there.
I saved on Quietly Arrogant.
We all could mount our case that they should have won. Earlier this week, Greg Pritchard caught up with Tommy Berry to get his thoughts on Valedictorian.
He was very good first up. We had to ride him forward from what looked to be an ugly draw, but he was able to do that with the way he executed the start. And if he can do that again on the weekend, drawing middle of the field, he'll be able to put himself into a handy spot. But we're very pleased with his efforts. He was first up. He got a little bit tired late after doing the work early, and he'll take great benefit from that. He's worked really well during the week, and this is his chance to have a crack at getting into the slipper. And if he doesn't, there's the option of waiting for the size as well.
Tommy's always been full of praise for Valedictorian the whole way through, so interested to hear his thoughts. Another progressive 2-year-old that we see is State Visit, who we've only seen on one occasion, and that was in the 2-year-old handicap race there at Canterbury. Oh, sorry, it was at Warwick Farm, I think. It was at Canterbury, wasn't it, officially, over 12.50. What did we make of this?
He looked a bit of quality, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. So this was a race where they really backed off in the middle stages, and for them to do that, and on a tight track like Canterbury, and for him to push his way into the clear and then hit the line, this is a lot better win than the margin suggests. His last 200 metres was the quickest across the entire meeting. So he is back in trip slightly, so he might be more of a size prospect, but look for him late. I think he'll be really hitting the line. If there's any chinks in their armour as far as running at a strong 1200, he might be one to cash in.
Yeah, he looks a nice horse, and the market said he might need a run there, and he could be a real improver. Whether it's for slipper, I don't know. We'll learn more about him Saturday.
Well, let's learn more about him heading into the weekend from Aussie Joe, the stable rep there for Kieran Maher.
He's not a horse who carries a whole lot of condition. He's a naturally very fit horse, but he's got a beautiful action, great temperament, and that was the plan to go there since his first run, and he'd be heading there in great form. So whatever happens on Saturday, obviously we'll make us decide what we do next. Obviously we do have the sleeper next week as a backup option if we wanted to back him up, but the sires 3 weeks from Saturday should be an ideal race for him.
Does he show much at home?
He's very casual, but every time you ask him, there's always more there. So we know there's some talent. We just never knew how much was actually there, but the way he won at Canterbury and the way he quickened give us plenty of confidence, obviously. But there's a lot more than what we've seen yet.
I think that's about as positive as you'd get from Joe, speaking about
You'd have a good read on him, I reckon, too.
Well, maybe, especially when he runs away from me at track work.
Oh, get back here.
Yeah, he does a runner down the stairs. He said to me last week, I'm off to the barriers, I'll see you soon. I said, do you want me to meet you out there? I'll be there. We got to chat, Joe. Anyway, let's talk about Kilman here, coming out of a 2-year-old open handicap at Warwick Farm over 1100.
The way I read this horse, this could be one of Chris Waller's nice horses for Queensland.
Yes. That's a good shout, actually.
Those colours tell you that. So I don't think he's going to do too much. He might, if he runs well, he might run him in a size. Or these Super Cess, they're good horses, and I think you've got to look after them at 2, and they'll reward you at 3, as we've seen with Linebacker. So if he's showing ability with that pedigree that he's got now, he could well be a serious horse, and I'm sure he's in the right hands to do the right thing with it.
I added a Super Seth to the Black Book from the Black Opal Sanctified from Gerald and
Another one.
Stable.
Yeah, there's another one.
Super Seth. Yep, there we go. They speak for themselves, don't they? Now, a quick word before we move on to the Magic Night on United States as well, with James McDonald aboard, barrier 11.
Well, you would have been left flat with that run behind Shaggy, but I think he did things upside down. You go back to his first start, they rated quiet, and he hit the line. You thought, hello, we might have something here. This might be something special. So, again, I keep saying it. He'll probably ride in quiet Saturday, and then we'll find out whether he's just not a 2-year-old or he's back in play. You'd just like to see him charge through the line.
He's always been highly thought of.
He has.
Hasn't he? The whisper's always been around that he's
the
top
whispers
shelf.
between Wadton and United States were almost on par, weren't they, early doors?
So he obviously shows a lot at home. He just needs to bring it to the track. He needs to execute.
Yes.
That's right. OK, well, let's take a look now at the girls. The market here for the Magic Night Stakes. Heading them is Strada Verena at 270. Bjorn was very pleased with her at track work on Tuesday morning. Artistic Venture is at 4s, Karinska 9s, Autumn Blonde 10s, Memo 12, along with Gamber's Open Secret, then 13s and Dreamside $21. What do we make of that market?
She's well found. I loved her debut win, and I thought, here's a nice slick slipper filly. And then every other leader won after it, and I just left a little bit flat-footed. So, look, I'm tipping her Saturday. I think Collett speaks highly of her, and he's a good judge. He's ridden a few nice 2-year-olds. So I think she's well found, but I just found her the horse I end up tipping in the race without conviction, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, she's short enough.
Well, Gambler started favourite in that race and took a sit.
Did she open 350 and now she's already into 270 as well? Yeah.
Yes, and she was the first horse backed all in as well, I noticed. So there's some expectations around her, and I guess what you like about her is that she just brings a different angle.
Yeah.
She's the fresh blood on the scene, isn't she? So a few punters are attracted to that.
I mentioned to Bjorn I've got her running for a bit in the Percy Sykes, if you wouldn't mind sending her
Oh,
there.
do you?
Yes,
No interest like self-interest, huh?
He ignored my point. This is the 2-year-old maiden handicap when we're looking at Dreamside and Autumn Blonde. Or Strada Verena, actually. Isn't it Strada Verena? Yeah.
It is.
She has just got this lovely sweet stride on a real free-flowing filly. But look, the second one, considering $2 something now and $12, there's a little question to say, are they too far apart, her and Gambers now, and Gambers in barrier 1?
And it's just whether a winner of this race is tempted to back up or whether they just think, the Percy Sykes is a nice carrot.
Exactly.
Because you look through recent history and Kiamichi's the only winner of this race who has gone on to win a Golden Slipper.
It's the way as well that she's continued to improve, and that's what Bjorn said when she rocked up at the stables. He said, what have you sent me? And the way that she just, with each prep that she's been in and out, she's come on from, even since seeing her at the very first 2-year-old trials we saw her there, Duff. She's improved since then.
She has.
Just furnished, filled out into her frame. So, and that's what you like to see from those progressive 2-year-olds, isn't it? She certainly will hopefully stand up to it. Let's take a look now at Dreamside and Autumn Blonde.
Well, you like this horse, Brad?
Yeah,
Dreamside?
I do. I like her price more so. So I think she's a talented filly, but I thought she was the one that the market had missed. Time record, I think you were shopping at about $19. So here she is on debut. She had to take a medicine from the wide draw. She actually jumped okay, had to get a long way back, rode for luck, got momentarily balked. And the form through this race, Autumn Blonde has franked it, and there's Mahuna on the outside who came out and ran a cracker there behind Tempted. So 5 weeks between runs, maybe that's not ideal, but I do think it's been by design. So I think she's a little wild card here.
Well, you make a very strong case for her, that's for sure.
All right, let's look at the Sweet Embrace Stakes as well now. So Autumn Blonde, Artistic Venture, Open Secret, Karinska and Memo all here. Well,
look at Artistic Venture here. I think she would have won with momentum. Big jockey change here, obviously with McDonald going on, but a wide draw, 1,200 metre start at Randwick. Little bit of a question mark how quick they're going to go, but I know she'll lead up 1,200, that's for sure, but just needs a few breaks in the run, I'd suggest, considering that she's got a wide draw, and you wouldn't think they'd hunt her up, but just loses all momentum there, and he hadn't fully gone for it.
Very tight, didn't it? It was a race that was set up for the back markers, so she may have been flattered to that extent. But yeah, just needs a clever ride from James McDonald, barrier 14 of 14.
All right, we've talked a lot about how open this 2-year-old season is at the moment. Best 2-year-old that you've seen?
Well, as far as Golden Slippers are concerned, I'd have to say, well, Luskin Star is the best I've seen. Bounding Away is right there. And I got a very soft spot for Bint Maskey, and when she won, she ran Sizzling Time, and she was a ripping 2-year-old. There's 3 beauties that I can remember, and that's just going back a bit.
I say Piero.
I would say
Him?
Piero too. Yeah. So as far as being on track, Piero probably. Yeah.
Well, let's find out what the trainers had to say. And then also on the other side of this break, I caught up with Bjorn Baker on his chances in the Golden Slipper. Chance or chances? I might be jumping the gun there.
Obviously, I haven't been in Australia for a long period of time, but G. Frankel was an extremely good 2-year-old back in the UK. I'd say he'd be pretty hard to beat anyway.
I'll go with just what I've seen firsthand, and for us, out of the partnership, that's been fun and won the Golden Slipper for us. So I think that's obviously the greatest test for those 2-year-olds, and he was able to pull that off. So I'd say he's certainly been one of them.
Seapoy. I think probably Bent Maskey. Or
Piero. No doubt Fireburn and Shield Ray.
I still think Alingi was the best 2-year-old I've seen. I mean, it won the Blue Diamond, but it sat 3 wide, no cover the entire way in the Golden Slipper and still managed to run 3rd. I think she was the creme de la creme.
Geez, that's a good question. I'll probably Dan's Hero.
I'd better say Luskin Star.
Oh, the greatest 2-year-old. I think Luskin Star would be hard to beat. I was very young. But in later life, boy, that is a good question, to which I have no answer.
Well, Bjorn, you've had some very good 2-year-old seasons in the past. This is arguably the best that you've had.
Yeah, I don't think arguably. I think well and truly, I guess with OLA within the law and the promising Strata Arena coming through. So no, I've been very lucky, and also probably reflects a better class of horse that the stable is getting.
It feels the riding's been on the wall. I remember at those very first 2-year-old trials, you rolled the truck up and there were a lot there. You had a lot of intent stepping them out for that very first 2-year-old day, and the riding was on the wall early. Of course, we saw OLA there too, and Strata Arena.
Yeah, both of those were there, and it's always a good sign, even if they're not quite as competitive as you like in those early 2-year-old trials. It's a good sign that you can get them there. It means they're probably tough. They have what it takes to get to those first 2-year-old trials, and often that can flow into the rest of the season. So, no, it's definitely important to try and get there, and it's very competitive, those first trials. So, off that, we had a bit of confidence that we had some nice horses.
So much water can go under the bridge between then and a slipper. We're now just over a week out from a slipper. I guess we're about 10 days away. What's it like as you head towards a big race like this with a 2-year-old?
I guess within the law is already in the race, so it's not going to change too much. And she's very casual and straightforward, so from that point of view, it definitely makes my job easy. She's a filly that is fairly relaxed and casual, and so doesn't do a whole heap on the track, so we know that if we can get her there, she's always a race day racehorse, so she'll bring her best out racing.
Let's talk about her and her career so far. We of course saw her when she ran on debut there down at Flemington, down the straight, and it's been only positive since.
Yeah, it has, and actually she came second to North England at the trials prior to that, so that gave us a bit of confidence, and I thought her win that day was really good. First time down the straight, and especially just the last 50, she really hit the line and put a margin on the rest of the field. So from there she went to the English race at Ramwick, and I thought that was an excellent effort. She had to come through horses. It was only a tight gap, and she was very strong late, and then her run in the English Millennium was outstanding. She got beat by Rivellino, looks to be one of the better 2-year-old colts as well, winning the Todman, and then her win last time was amazing. I thought she got a check at the start of the race, had to sit deep and cover a lot of extra ground, so I was very, very excited. I thought that was undoubtedly the best win of her career, and I think 1200 in the Golden Slipper is ideal.
What about her as a yearling? She was an inexpensive yearling, but just having a look at her parade, she's got everything there that you would hope for from an early 2-year-old.
Yeah, and she's no fuss, she's casual, and Derby Racing, Scott Derby and the team just do a remarkable job at finding value. And this is another good filly they've sourced for great money, so the connections would be absolutely thrilled. And no, she's just been very straightforward from day one and sort of probably gone well below the radar, so very, very different to a horse like Oyola, who first galloped, she was just electric, exceptionally fast, and whereas Within the Lord just does what she's asked for.
What have you learnt about training 2-year-olds in your time?
It's tough. It is really tough, and always hard to be confident regardless of what you have or see in track work. It is definitely, it's hard to predict what can happen, and you can really have a horse going very, very well, one gallop or one run, and you just don't have them there next time. So definitely a lot more up and downs in terms of 2-year-olds as opposed to older horses, and and at the end of the day you need a 2-year-old that can handle the demands of racing.
I do just want to touch on Stradivarina as well, because we see her run this weekend and could potentially see her, if she runs well, back up into a Golden Slipper the next week. She's been a bit of a different story in the way through with her. She's taken that little bit extra time, but she just keeps seeming to come on from her runs.
Yeah, and she's a really, really promising filly. Her work has been nothing short of sensational. Her first up one was great. She led comfortably and was very strong late. And she was actually going to run in the Gym Crack, the first 2-year-old fillies race of the year, but she had a temperature the morning of the race which forced us to put her out. We gave her time, and she is a very promising filly.
You're flying at the moment, Bjorn, but what would having a slipper win mean to you?
Everything at Sydney Racing. That's what Sydney Racing is about. It's about, I guess, the Golden Slipper is the iconic Sydney race and has been for decades. It's the race every trainer wants to win, and from a business and commercial point of view, it would make the world of difference. It's about getting better class horses into the stable to start with, and the Slipper is a race that just about guarantees that. So it's very important, and when I came to Australia 14 years ago, it was the race I dream about winning.
What about some celebrations? I know your celebrations for Magic Millions had to be in the cab on the way to the races because of the flight that was delayed, of course, but what would they be like on track there Saturday?
They'd be pretty big, I suspect, and with Team Derby, I know Scott Derby's lucky enough that they've won it before with She Will Reign, and they're very, very focused on trying to get a runner and a winner in the Slipper. So no, it would be an amazing atmosphere, and that's what would, it would be very, very special.
King of Pop bearing down on him. It's far-sighted, and King of Pop, 150 left to go, and the two Farnan Colts lock horns to fight out the Black Opal. King of Pop's got his head in front from far-sighted. King of Pop won an epic Black Opal.
Epic it certainly was, guys. I went down for the day. It was a fantastic day out at Canberra, I must say.
It looks it. It always is.
I thought Sanctified ran well also. We talked about the son of Super Seth, or these Super Seths that are just firing at the moment, aren't they? So two Guineas winners in the last couple of weeks. Yep. And now he's got 2-year-olds coming.
And they get better. So I like the winner. I really do. He's got to come home to his home track at Rosehill. He'll be third up in the Slipper. If he draws well, he looks like he's got enough speed to keep out of trouble closer to the midfield. I think he'll run well. I think he'll run well in the Slipper.
Yep. So it's now time to see if we're on the right path, maybe the rough path. What are we doing? Have we changed our mind?
Oh, well, I had to. It'll change again next week. So at this stage, it's Bella Zane for me on top, and you're staying solid to the draw.
Under sufferance, I have. What did Richard Friedman say? That's a good question for which I have no answer. Maybe I'd like to put that up as far as...
We should just say that all the time when people ask us things now.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to run with that. To quote Richard Friedman.
I have no answer.
Yeah, I like that. And what about the rough path? Where are we going there?
I don't know if he's rough, but I forecast there. King of Pop, I think he's going to run well at double-figure odds. I get where you're coming from that filly. She's strong, isn't she?
Yeah, well, half the gamble is that she's got to get into the field first.
Well, do you remember Espionage? It was almost a shoo-in that he'd be in last year, and then he didn't
get in.
So, but you never know this year, everything's different, isn't it?
But if she's there, and there is some attrition, $51 is well over the odds.
There's depth to that form for sure.
All right, well, there we go. And Brad, it's now time for your Golden Achiever.
So we recently heard the news of a retirement. I wish I win, and what a career he had. So we had to give him a nod, given he was a winner of a Golden Eagle, where he shrieked down the outside and beat Fangirl off the top of my head. So he was a fantastic horse. And remember when he first burst onto the scene, he was the horse with the legs.
Oh, yes.
He had massive issues, and I think finally they've caught up with him. But originally Forrest Gump turned into a Group 1 star, and he deserves a fitting farewell.
He's been so well managed, hasn't he, too?
Yeah.
So credit to the team.
Would have loved to have seen him come back here and running the rider at 1500, where one run at the track and distance doing that.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to be. He's been a great horse.
He certainly has, and he will be missed. We've had a few champs retire in the last 18 months, haven't we?
Yes.
They're all going.
We have.
So that's it for us on the Golden Path for this week, but don't forget to join us next week, a special hour-long episode as we run through all the field for the Golden Slipper.